All right. So, in your notes, we did like Renaissance introduction yesterday, which is just this. Oh, where's my thingy? There it is. Which is just this information. Okay. Today, we're going to start looking at the city of Florence. Let me see what time it is so I don't go too long. Okay, so Florence, Italy. Basically, we're going to do this. My asthma is like so bad today, so I just totally can't breathe. So I'm not being creepy. I just can't breathe. I'm good. Okay. The city of Florence is right here. Okay. And if you remember from yesterday, the Renaissance begins in Italy. Okay. The Renaissance, this rebirth of education, art, learning, that is education, culture, all this good stuff. Okay. It starts in Italy because of trade routes, and really also kind of gets kicked off because of the Crusades that happened, a couple hundred years before this. So we officially say that the Renaissance 100% gets going in the city of Florence, right here. Okay, right here, right there. Okay, we have a family. The family is right here. When you look at that word, it looks like Medici or Medici or whatever. There's two different ways that you'll hear people say it. You'll hear people say Medici, or you'll hear people say Medici. I learned Medici, so that's usually what I say. However, the C, it's not a S or a K sound. It's a Ch, okay? In Italian, the C is a Ch, so it's Medici, Medici, or Medici. Whatever, you'll hear it both ways. That being said, the Medici family lives in the city of Florence, Italy, okay? And they are part of the middle class, which, if you remember from social statuses, you really don't have a middle class. You really have nobles and everybody else. Well, nobles are noble born. Like, you have to be born into the nobility. You can be rich and still be like a peasant. And that is what the Medici are. They're the merchants in the cities. They're the rich peasants. That sounds so weird to us, but they're the rich peasants, which during this time period is going to actually turn into the rich middle class. Because most of them are merchants, it's called the rich merchant class. All right. In some cases, some of these merchant families, they're peasants, you guys, but some of them are richer than some of the nobles because they work. They work. The nobles don't work. You're like, well, where do they get their money from? It's old family money. They've had this money in their families forever. We don't even know where this money came from. It's been in their family for so long. Who knows where it came from? But see, they only have a certain amount of money. But that's not how it is for the middle class, the merchants. Because the merchants are working, they're always gaining more wealth. By this time period, some of those merchants are crazy rich. Again, really, truly, some of them are richer than the nobility, which, again, is just really weird to us. They're still treated like crap by the nobles. The nobles still look at them and go, oh, you're a peasant, even though they technically do have more money than the nobles. It's very strange. Sorry. Okay. This Medici family, the patriarch, like the man in charge, is Cosimo. Right there. Cosimo. It's not Cosmo. Cosimo. There's an I there. Cosimo de' Medici. Cosimo de' Medici is part of this rich middle class. Okay. He's from a family of merchants. However, this family opened a bank. You're like, so? He opened a bank where he starts this idea of loaning money to people. Loaning. Like the farmer. I don't know, there's an earthquake in Italy and the farmer's barn falls down. Well, the farmer is a poor peasant and he doesn't have money to rebuild his barn. So he goes to Cosimo at the bank and he borrows money from the bank. Cosimo loans him money that is in the bank. That's how loans work. When I go to the bank to get a loan for my house, the bank gives the money. When I pay my house payment, you guys, I don't pay a house payment to a builder or to a house company or the real estate place. My house payment goes to Wells Fargo Bank because I borrowed money. Wells Fargo is where the loan came from. That's how people buy houses. Ask your parents if they own a house. Who do they pay for their house payment? I guarantee most of your parents, they're paying a bank because we were loaned money to buy that house. Okay, here's the thing. Where does that money come from? Well, back then, it came from the people who put money in the bank. So when I take my money, my deposit, and I give it to Cosimo de' Medici, he puts my money in the bank, right? Then when you, Mr. Farmer person, come along and say, Cosimo, man, this earthquake, man, it destroyed my barn. I got to build a new barn, but I don't have any money. Cosimo says, hey, I will loan you Sherilyn's money. You got to pay it back. If you don't pay back this loan, it's not on me. When Sherilyn comes and I say, I'm sorry, you don't have any money, she's going to be like, what? I'm going to tell her that it's because you didn't pay your money back. Peer pressure. You like to pretend. I do too, even as a 42-year-old adult, almost 43 in just a couple weeks. Anyway, human beings, like we like to pretend like peer pressure isn't a thing. It doesn't bother us. Bull honky. Yeah, it does. It does. And that peer pressure is enough for that farmer to be like, ooh, I don't want Sherilyn's family to be mad at me because I didn't pay back the loan. When you're loaned money back then, it's coming from the bank, yes, but the money itself comes from the people who have already put money in the bank. So you have to pay it back. If you don't pay it back, we got a problem. And see, back then you could be jailed and stuff. So the system gets going. And it actually allows a whole lot of like peasants, farmers, not necessarily the rich middle class or even the middle class, the artisans, the farmers, the poor peasants are able to start borrowing some money and doing things that they've never been able to do before. If you have a family of 10 kids, it's a lot of kids. All of those kids probably hate. Oh, wait, I said that backwards. How do I want to say it? There's at least probably some of those kids who hate farming. They want to do something else with their life, but they can't afford it. They have no startup money to build their business. But see, now they can go to Cosimo, get money loaned to them, get their business, their new restaurant going, their new coffee shop going, okay? Their new business can get going, and then they pay their loan back to the bank. That's going to boost the economy in Florence big time. If the economy in Florence is boosted and people are getting more money, people are getting richer, they're buying more stuff. They're also going to send their kids to school. If the Renaissance is a rebirth of education, do you see why we say it really gets started in Florence? Because these people who have never been able to pay for schools before now have some extra money that they can send their kids to universities, or they can send their kids to tutors to learn how to read and write. Education boost, Renaissance. After, oh, I didn't show you a picture of Cosimo. Sorry. This is Cosimo de' Medici. I probably have 2 pictures for each one of these guys. Young and old. Here's good old Cosimo. He looks very stern. Did I include his old? Yes. This is Cosimo as an older man. You're going to start seeing a lot of paintings that are being done profile. To have a big, prominent nose was considered high upper class. Why? I don't know. Standards of beauty change over time. But that's why you're going to see a lot of profiles so that people can see the nose. And some of them are going to be really exaggerated. Just wait. Wait till we get further into the period of the period of enlightenment. Some of those guys have the biggest noses you've ever seen. Were they really that big? Probably not. So anyway, this is Cosimo de' Medici. He gets this bank and the loaning really, really, really going, okay? This isn't the first bank in history. This isn't even the first loan in history. But definitely at this time, it's the most successful. And following Cosimo is going to be Lorenzo. When you look at the word, it looks like Lorenzo, but the Z here, when you look at it, here it is right here. Look at this name. It's the coolest name ever. Are you ready? Lorenzo de Magnifica de' Medici. Is that not a cool name? I want to name my dog that. Lorenzo de Magnifica de' Medici. Although really it'd be too long, but whatever. It's a cool name. Okay, Lorenzo. The Z right here, it's almost said as an S. Lorenzo, not Lorenzo, like an S. Lorenzo. De Magnificat, the Magnificent. That's not really his name. That's not the name he was born with. But he becomes such a big deal that people, even while he's alive, are calling him that. That's impressive. Like, we give people names like Alexander the Great, William the Conqueror. They didn't go by that when they were alive. They got that name later, not Lorenzo. He's called the Magnificent like while he's alive because he's a big deal. Lorenzo starts loaning money to the government of Florence. See, look back at the map. Boom, 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 boom. Look back at the map. I talked about this yesterday, but does Italy look unified to you? Kingdom, kingdom, kingdom. And they're not really kingdoms, they're republics, but who cares? Kingdom, kingdom, kingdom. Each one of these colors is its own different political entity. They're constantly at war also. Constantly. Constant. Milan and Florence are like fighting every 2 seconds. When they aren't fighting, they're fighting with Genoa. I mean, it's just constant. That being said, wars are expensive. Wars cost a lot of money. And the government doesn't have enough money in Florence to go to war again. So Lorenzo's like, hey, government, I could loan you some money so that you could pay your soldiers, so that you could buy food to send them to war, so that you could buy the weapons needed. I can loan you money, but understand, if I loan you this money, just because you're the government doesn't mean you don't have to follow the rules. Because if I loan you this money, I'm loaning you Cheryl Lynn's money. I'm loaning you Farmer John's money. You have to pay it back just like everybody else does. And there's a catch. See, interest. Interest. When you have a loan, the longer you have that loan, the more interest, that's extra money, gets added. I'm totally making up these numbers, you guys, making them up. If I have a credit card with a $500 balance, okay, if I don't pay off that credit card this month, next month, the balance is not $500. The balance, and I'm making up these numbers, I'm not good enough at math to know the right, correct answer. But next month, the balance is not $500, it's $520. If I still don't pay it off the next month, it's like $540. And it really doesn't go exponentially like that all the time, but whatever. It's extra money that gets added on to your loan if you don't pay it back by a certain date. What date? It's the date that Lorenzo decided in the contract. The government borrows all this money from Lorenzo to go fight these wars, to help peasants with famine, to do whatever they want. I don't know, to build their big rich buildings, whatever. They start borrowing money from the government. I'm sorry, from the bank. But see, they're not paying it back. That's a problem. And Lorenzo goes to the government and he says, you haven't paid this loan back. So when Sherilyn came to get her money, there wasn't any. When Farmer John came to get his money out of the bank, there wasn't any. When, Bob, the artisan, came to get his money out of the bank, there wasn't any. And I told him why. I told him that it was because you, government, didn't pay back your loan. They kind of want to revolt. What are you going to do about it, government? Guys, look. Lorenzo has so much money out to the government that they can't pay back. That Lorenzo says, I'm rich now, so I'll spot you. I'll cover that. I'll knock some money off of that loan. You don't have to pay $4 billion anymore. You just have to pay $3,500,000. If you pass this law that will help Farmer John, if you pass this law that will lower taxes on the merchants, if you pass this law that will allow education for women to help Sherilyn, do you see what Lorenzo's doing? The government does it because they don't want revolts. Lorenzo ends up puppet controlling the bank. He's like a puppet master. Did I say the bank? I'm sorry. The government. He's like a puppet master. He says, let's do this. And the government's like, you're a peasant. You're just part of the rich middle class. And he's like, let's do this. And the government's like, oh crap, he has our loan. Okay, we'll do it. He owns the government. It's corrupt. I know. But you have to admit, it's kind of cool that technically a peasant, rich middle class, I know, but technically he's a peasant still. And he's the one calling the shots in the government of Florence. I think it's cool. Now, there is drama with it. We're not going to go into it. There is more to the story. People do eventually kick him out and run his family away. And they go to, I can't remember, maybe Venice for a while because they're exile, but then they come back and they kill everybody who did it and then they take over again. So whatever, okay? The Medici eventually are going to work their way up, and Catherine de Medici is a queen eventually. Impressive, considering they start in the middle class. When Lorenzo starts getting all his money, he becomes what we call a patron of the arts. A patron is somebody who buys art. You're all patrons. You're like, I don't buy art. Music is art. Books is considered an art form, especially like comic books or what are they, the graphic novel things. Yeah. So, I mean, we're all kind of patrons, but he becomes a big deal, patron of the arts. Okay. So much so that he starts having his whole like villa, his whole, what's it called, house painted with these awesome murals on the wall. Back then they were called frescoes, but who cares? Today we call them murals. It's not just painting your whole house red. You have a picture painted on the wall. And he hires one of his, is it his brother? I think it's one of his brother's friends. But he hires one of his family's friends. Oh, this is an old picture of Lorenzo. Like he's older. In this picture, he's younger. And in this picture, he's older. Looks nice. Does he give you a little bit of a Lord Farquaad vibe? He does me. Okay. This guy right here is one of the people that he hires. I can't remember. He's a friend of the family. I think he's like best friends with Lorenzo's brother or maybe cousin or whatever. But his name, it doesn't really matter that much, but he's my favorite painter. His name is Sandro Botticelli. Botticelli starts painting these like really awesome paintings on the wall of Lorenzo's house. Now, this one isn't really on the wall of Lorenzo's house, but he starts painting stuff like this. Let me make my head smaller so you can see the whole thing. Look back here at this painting. This is Botticelli, and he painted this of himself, like self-portrait, okay? This right here is a piece of this. Do you see him? There's Botticelli right there. This is a religious painting. You have Mary. Let me zoom in. You have Mary, Jesus, Joseph in the manger scene. That's what this is supposed to be. Okay, this background thing. All right. Here you have like all these people coming to see baby Jesus. The wise men, three kings, whatever you grew up calling them. Okay. This is a painting on a wall. It's on a flat surface, but he paints it with depth. It looks like you could walk into this, even though it's a flat wall. And people were amazed. So when Lorenzo starts hiring people like this to paint his house, all of the nobles want their house to be as cool as Lorenzo's. So they start hiring all of these artists too. Everybody can't hire Botticelli. It's only one guy. So all of these painters, all of these artists start coming from everywhere to Florence because Florence wants artists. That's why Florence also becomes like this big art hub, this big, like, I don't know, it's like art central in the in the Renaissance period, because all these nobles want all of these artists to come and paint their houses, to come and paint stuff for them. This is another one of Botticelli's paintings. He's known for doing like really beautiful angelic faces. You may not think she's pretty. That's fine. Again, standards of beauty change over time. Look at how intricate her hair is. It's just gorgeous. This right here, it's called the Primavera. This is highly secular. Does secular mean evil? No, it just means worldly. What you're looking at here is the Greek goddess of love and beauty, Aphrodite. Her little minion, Cupid. Apollo, sun god, one of the sun gods. Also like music, poetry, stuff like that. Here you have Demeter, goddess of like growing things. These are Greek gods and goddesses. Here you have Persephone, Demeter's daughter, and then you have Hades here. This is not Christian at all. Oh my gosh, Botticelli. He painted something that is Greek gods and goddesses. He's going to hell. Botticelli claims, I mean, you never really know, but claims to have been a hardcore Catholic believer. He said, I can paint Greek gods and goddesses and still be a Christian. You've seen this one, I'm sure. This is again Aphrodite, the birth of Aphrodite. It's called Venus, is what it's called. Venus is Aphrodite's Roman name. It's called the birth of Venus. It's a Greek goddess again, and oh, God forbid she's naked. This is my favorite one. This is called Venus and Mars. Again, gods and goddesses. Greece, gods and goddesses. Is he going now? In the medieval period, people would have said, yes, he needs to be burned at the stake. He's painting things that are not religious. They're pagan, not Christian. But today, well, not today, but Renaissance, it's more accepted. So now we have all of this art that's starting to become a big deal. And that is going to lead us directly into the Ninja Turtles. Wait, what? Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, Raphael, and we don't really talk about Donatello in this class. Sorry. But we will talk about the three painters next. Bye.